Did you ever think the golden boy of photography, Andre Richardson, could be the key to the deadliest criminal empire in the show's history? Because I certainly didn't. And yet, here we are, staring down the barrel of a plot twist that just blew the roof off Garland Memorial Hospital. For months, we have watched Andre play the role of the perfect, supportive husband to Danny Dupree. He has been the grounded, artistic counterweight to the chaotic, scandalous energy of the Dupree family. But as it turns out, the man behind the camera has been hiding a negative so dark, it threatens to destroy everyone he claims to love. Let's unpack the sheer intensity of the confession scene that just took place in Ted Richardson's hospital office. We all knew Andre was being haunted by mysterious texts and an anonymous bottle of champagne that triggered his memories of Europe. But the truth is infinitely more sinister than a scorned ex-lover. Andre finally reached his breaking point. He broke down and confessed to his Uncle Ted that Heather Armstrong, Joey's sister and the ruthless leader of the plasma ring known as the Impaler, is not just some random stalker. She holds concrete, undeniable proof of his direct involvement in her criminal syndicate back in London. Make it make sense, right? How does a high society photographer get wrapped up in a global black market plasma ring? According to Andre, it was a matter of life and death. He accidentally stumbled upon the dark secrets of the plasma ring during his time in Europe, right around the traumatic period when his parents died in a plane crash. To silence him, the syndicate forced him into their ranks. Andre became a plasma transport lackey, moving illegal materials just to keep himself breathing. You can almost sympathize with the logic of a terrified young man doing whatever it takes to survive, but the ripple effects of his cowardice are absolutely catastrophic. Let's talk about Ted's reaction, because it perfectly mirrored my own. Ted was absolutely horrified, and for good reason. It's one thing to find out your nephew committed a crime in Europe. It is an entirely different nightmare to realize your nephew is indirectly responsible for the death of a local hero. We cannot forget that Derek Baldwin died taking a bullet for Jacob Hawthorne during the plasma ring bust. Derek's blood is on the hands of everyone involved in that syndicate, and by extension, that includes Andre. The psychological weight of this revelation is staggering. Jacob Hawthorne is currently tearing his own life apart, alienating his father Elon, and worrying his wife Naomi, all because he is consumed by a relentless, burning need to avenge Derek and catch the Impaler. If Jacob ever finds out that Danny Dupree's charming husband was a courier for the very people who murdered his best friend, there will be no place on earth for Andre to hide. Jacob will literally tear him apart. But just as Ted is trying to process the fact that his nephew is a criminal, the writing team delivers a masterclass in psychological terror. Ding! A text message arrives on Andre's phone. It's from Heather, and it's a picture of Danny sleeping peacefully in her own bed. The caption, "Keep the secret or lose it all." Are you kidding me? The absolute audacity of Heather Armstrong? This isn't just a threat. It is a demonstration of omnipotent power. Heather is showing Andre that she can bypass all of his security, invade his most intimate sanctuary, and eliminate his wife without breaking a sweat. And let's point out the delicious, tragic irony of Danny's current situation. Danny has been spiraling into a pit of self-hatred and guilt because she secretly hooked up with her ex-husband, Bill Hamilton, in an elevator during the tornado. She is so consumed by her own infidelity that she is completely blind to the fact that her current husband has brought a ruthless serial killer right to her bedside. Ted Richardson, however, is not a man who sits back and waits to be slaughtered. Refusing to watch his nephew be psychologically tortured, Ted takes matters into his own hands and goes directly to confront Heather. Now, if you thought Heather would be intimidated by a respected hospital executive, you haven't been paying attention. Instead of showing fear, Heather literally laughs in Ted's face. She thrives on this kind of confrontation. And this is where she drops a bombshell that changes the entire landscape of Beyond the Gates. Heather reveals that Andre didn't just transport plasma in London. He was the inside man who provided the confidential intelligence that allowed the plasma ring to break into Garland Memorial's drug and plasma storage. Let that sink in for a moment. Andre Richardson betrayed his own uncle's workplace. He provided the blueprints, the security codes, or the access points that allowed a violent criminal syndicate to rob Garland Memorial blind. This completely shifts Andre from a reluctant, sympathetic victim to an active, complicit traitor. He didn't just survive in Europe. He brought the corruption home to Fairmont Crest and infected the very institution that saves lives in his community. Ted is left utterly stunned, and frankly, so are we. The betrayal is so deep it cuts to the bone. Ted is a pillar of Garland Memorial. He has dedicated his life to healing, and his own flesh and blood facilitated an attack on his sanctuary. But Heather isn't done. She doesn't just drop bombs for the fun of it. She uses them to build her empire. She offers Ted a sick, twisted ultimatum. Heather demands that Ted keep his mouth shut about Andre's involvement. But silence isn't enough. She wants Ted to actively help her access the highly classified medical records of the Dupree family. Why? Because she is looking for her next illegal organ donor target. This is where the plot goes from thrilling to absolutely chilling. The red market thrives on premium organs, and the Dupree family has a documented history of elite medical drama. Think about it logically. Kat Richardson just donated a portion of her liver to save Eva Thomas. Naomi Hawthorne recently tested positive for the BRCA gene and is considering preventative surgery. Anita Dupree just beat breast cancer. The Dupree family medical files are a goldmine of genetic data and surgical history. Heather wants to harvest the elite of Fairmont Crest, and she wants Ted to hand them over on a silver platter. If Ted refuses this monstrous deal, Heather promises to send the audio recording of Andre's confession directly to Detective Jacob Hawthorne. We all know what often happens if Jacob gets that tape. He will arrest Andre immediately. The scandal would completely destroy Danny Dupree's life, shatter the Richardson family's reputation, and likely cost Ted his medical license for knowing about the crime and failing to report it. This places Ted in the most agonizing moral dilemma of his entire life. On one hand, he can report Heather and Andre to the police, upholding his oath as a doctor and protecting the public from the red market, but doing so will send his nephew to prison, put a target on Danny's back, and unleash Jacob's unhinged wrath. On the other hand, he can bow to Heather's blackmail, betray his medical ethics, and hand over the confidential files of his ex-wife Nicole's family, effectively putting a bounty on the heads of the Duprees. How will this affect Ted's burgeoning romance with Shanice Johnson? She is a dedicated nurse at Garland Memorial who values integrity above all else. If she finds out Ted is covering up for the people who robbed their hospital and caused Derek's death, she will leave him in a heartbeat. Ted is trapped in a corner with no way out, and Heather Armstrong is holding all the cards. Will Ted sacrifice his medical ethics and the safety of the Dupree family to save his nephew from prison, or will he let Andre burn at the altar of Jacob Hawthorne's revenge? We are witnessing the ultimate test of loyalty versus justice. Let me know what you think Ted should do in the comments below, and keep watching because Fairmont Crest is about to go up in flames.